Hello, everyone. Welcome to another late night episode. A double-edged sentence of a title arose to me, and I thought about speaking about how would I say it when I say double-edged. I've written a sentence that can be seen in more than one dimension. And so the title of tonight's episode is "The Advanced Humanity is Already Living in the Saved Earth." And in the subtitle I've written is "Chaos, a Post-Freedom Game." So to make it easy for myself, I would say this episode is me pretty much explaining the title and also suggesting a philosophical argument. This might be strange, not for how would I say it? It's as if I want to look at chaos and wonder about its position in reality. The advanced humanity is already living in the saved earth. At first, when the idea for the title arose, I was thinking about as if what state of mind do advanced human beings or human beings need to be in order to save their situation, save their life. But the interesting thing about starting off from that view of being this person that's like, okay, the advanced human beings will save the world, save the earth, and then suddenly the sentence, when I say it's double-edged, it took another angle, and I thought about a video game. That means the sentence, the advanced humanity is already living in the saved earth. That saved earth could imply a sort of backup system. Okay? Pretty much I would say I spend, these nights that I give these talks wondering about the future. And it's not that I have such an arrogance where I'm saying I know everything from the past and I know everything in the present and I'm going towards the future. It's not an arrogance like that, but it's in some sense a depth of observance and a depth of vision. That means when I wonder about what moves my life, it is really the questions, the biggest questions of my life. They are the definers of the edge of my world. Now, there was a time and I can totally see how there's many people on the planet who still have an attitude where for them they are trying to live in the way of an answer. Okay? So what do I mean by this? If I chose to, let's say, poetically live through an answer, that means I opened my eyes as a creature in this world. Imagine a person opening his eyes in this world, and then the person's like, okay, life is an answer, and it's all about the implementation of the answer. So an answer means one has found the truth of a reality, right? And if you look at modern times, most human beings who go into states of, let's say, psychological disposition, and they're trying to wonder about what it means, what happens to the individual who is not satisfied with their own beliefs, right? And what tends to happen is that the beliefs of others becomes a sort of roller coaster game. Like probably right now as I'm speaking, there's like endless, people with the spiritual sticker, seeking teachings from guru to guru rather than realizing the mystery of life has a direct experiential component. Imagine there is something that nothing outside of you can give you. That's like the true mystery of the mind, right? But anyways, what I'm trying to say is some people define their life based on the questions they have. Their life is defined based on the questions of their visions. And some people, they let go of the questions and they just allow an answer to define them. If I wanted to just accept an answer for reality, then it would be as if the first story I heard was enough. You know, people don't realize in these Mr. Within talks, where when I say we're multidimensional beings, this multidimensionality is not just limited to the self. It's not like I'm saying there's just a ghost in the machine. I'm saying for the ghost, if there is a ghost in the machine, there is also a ghost world, in a matter of speech. You know, I find myself really privileged to be able to give a podcast. I think I'm the first, not I think, like I know I'm the first, human being with this sort of genetical, I'm the first in the lineage of my ancestors to speak in cyberspace. Probably, like, I don't know, let's say my great-great-grandchildrens will be living in cyberspace. Yeah. Right now I'm just speaking in cyberspace. For me, the mystery of reality comes down to certain questions. One of these questions is what's going to happen on Earth. I look at the past and I see that various human beings have opened their eyes and roamed the Earth and even have transitioned, and they have a sort of analysis. The advantage and privilege of being a human being in a civilization is that we are not starting off empty-handed. That means if you're in a world in the middle of nowhere and there is a simulation, it's better that there is a simulation rather than nothing at all. And really, what has happened, I mean, if we look at it, let's say, I'll say it, delicately with the view that this is just one person's view, but for me, when I wonder about where am I and what has gone, what has happened on this earth, pretty much a part of nature separated from itself, discovered the separation of its body, and then discovered that it's separate from its body. That means, imagine, I say it in this way. This is, let's say, Mr. Within's model of evolution. I've talked about it in other talks. Pretty much there's an unconscious world. That means, imagine the world is happening and there's no one to see it. It's just a massive happening, a massive occurrence in the unconscious, because there's no conscious entity to notice it. When the body of the human being emerged, it's as if for the first time something could move in itself, right? And it would be another way of saying that the creature's survival and what really instinct is the unconscious self moving. That means there is no persona, there is no self-orientation in the moment. Just at some point in our evolution, we were just creatures obliviously moving on the earth. Now something unique happens, and this is for now a mystery, one of the, I would say, beautiful mysteries of the past, okay, where something happens that in a matter of speech, it's an object evolves to become a subject to itself. And it's another way of saying the creature becoming conscious that it's a creature renders it in an additional viewing world, right? So what I mean is that unconscious world and unconscious self emerge, the body of the creature. This unconscious self can move to the conscious self. Right now we are living in that, I would say, process of nature where we know we are natural. So many beings, they may not even have self-identity. It's like, somebody looks at a puppy, right, and says, oh, look at that puppy, so adorable, but you can't, like let's say a microbiologist looking at bacteria under a microscope and being like, oh, that bacteria is adorable. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, we don't pretty much the human being is a shape that is using its own shape to comprehend everything that is there, right? The origin of understanding is conscious ability to accumulate. You know, when I was young, I had this impression that knowledge was like this endless scroll that you had to read. Then I realized every teacher of mine had, in some sense, what do they call it? They had it's called a white lie, okay? Or you could say it's like an honorable lie, or how would I say? You know, none of my teachers in all the years of my schooling was like, hey, human being, try to consider the context of reality and then conceptualize yourself. And the context of reality, the reality of the situation is that on a rock in the middle of nowhere, at some point, sounds and symbols began replacing reality, and the conscious viewer that is within us has a life in an abstract, subtler, ideological, and event-oriented realm. So if I was to say, okay, as a human being in 2020, 2022, what are the active dimensions of conscious mobility? I would say human beings have physical movement. It's as if there's a physical, natural world where we're just born into being. But simultaneously, there is an unnatural ideological world. So what I mean by this is that our physical nature gives us direct experience of physical reality, but what is happening to the experience of reality is a translation of its nature into a conceptual domain. You know, philosophers have wondered if there was no language, could people think? Because really what thinking is an endless resetting or reformatting attempt at the idea of self, which is the character in the story of the world. That's something that I think is superior to any self-help strategy. Human beings are trying to help themselves in an unknown world. But perhaps the greatest help is an ability to confront one's own unknown dimensions. It's another way of saying most people act as if they know what they are. They know who they are. But what if you don't know who you are? What if life has given you a story, you have accepted the story, and you have been waiting behind an invisible ideological wall to see when your true presence arrives and and begins to happen, right? In these talks of mine, I refer the human being, like symbolically, I say, okay, metaphorically, I say, all right, the human being, the brain is acting like an antenna. Why is it acting like an antenna? Because where is sensory perception going? The center of physical life is an ideological self that in actuality is an unknown witnessing presence, something that cannot be measured and cannot enter, I would say, the realm of knowledge is the undiscovered and the instantaneous. That means when it comes to even the idea of truth, there is an instantaneous truth that's unspeakable, and then there is a truth that's not discovered yet, which is unspeakable. But the interesting thing about how human beings have gone forth is that we define ourselves, and then as new experiences are added, our definitions readjust. You know, I thought that, or I should say it this way. In the trenches of the post-cyberspace mankind, I feel these Mr. Within talks may one day be, the architecture of the fourth world. First world, pure nature, nature's law. Second world, you can say, is the world of language. And then the third world is human beings communicated to build civilization. And then the fourth world is cyberspace, which is another way of saying, if we were to map the dimensions of the human mind, it's as if cyberspace would have the mind of our imagination and the body of our world. So it's another way of saying cyberspace and the fourth world is a world that we are subconsciously building, and at the same time it's part of the karma of the planet to have technological intervention. So what I mean by this is that I for some strange reason I feel this right now, but I feel it's coming from, some things I know as a body, some things I know as a mind, and some things I know instantaneously as if it's not in time. We know that the world is a changing event, and consciousness is participation in this event. Any human being, let's say somebody in their lifetime, they think that they haven't contributed to civilization. Let's say there's been someone who has ignored civilization, and really civilization means where's the future going, and I have concluded advancement. It's like I'm that person who made the word advanced his mantra and put the word advanced in front of everything. And after some point, it's as if you see an advanced outer realm, then you see it you see an advanced version of the outer realm in your inner realm. And then after some time, you realize pure advancement means non-conditional. Right now, me giving this podcast, let's say in the earth realm, this is a conditional realm. That means the identity of attention in the moment is defined by its environment. But something that usually happens for the yogi, that it's like in midway in searching for the ultimate truth, you realize the seeker doesn't exist. That's one of the bizarre things about human nature. I mean, honestly, if, let's say, extraterrestrials landed on the planet and they diplomatically asked us, hey, human beings, what do you think you are? Right? And it's like, what are you, human beings? Our answer, or our honest answer, would be as if in front of our eyes we appear as physical entities to one another, but behind our eyes every person is originating and initiating their own universe overlaid upon the actual earth. So imagine right now, I mean technically right now I'm speaking in 3 simulations at the same time. I think 3. It would be as if like I'm speaking in the simulation of sensory perception. I am speaking in the simulation of language, and at the same time it's as if I'm speaking in the simulation of the world, the simulation of civilization, and the simulation of language. And, the simulation of cyberspace. Cyberspace is unnatural, and the human being feels it's like a heavy phase of Earth, unnecessary heavy phase for human beings to go through, but it's as if the savageness that we experience, so right now in 2022, we look at the past and we're like, man, the civilization is pretty advanced right now. We have rockets attempting, spaceships, let's say attempting to go to Mars and whatnot. So the civilization has advancements, right? But if we were to envision a future where everything is sped up to the max, advancement means speed of efficient activation. Imagine the next 1,000 years, every human being is doing everything closer and closer to instantaneously. Eventually, there will come. I call this I've predicted this 3,600 years from now. But I feel there will come a moment where human beings will discover that consciousness is instantaneously being the whole moment, and there is the release from all sorts of samsaric existence. You see, the nature of the world, life is kind of like, from the mystical yogic view, it's kind of like a trick question. Okay? It's as if you see a world, but are you in one? Or is the world within you? And what is within you? It is an instantaneous moment that can try to be dishonest and tell itself colossal lies, but it's an instantaneous being. That means unless human beings are content with instantaneously being, not in a language-oriented relationship, but imagine for a moment, or let's say your whole life, you have been under the impression that you're just a human being on earth, and for one moment you discover that the nature of your mind, its edge is not what you know. Its edge is in some sense the inconceivable. It's as if the body is our visible life, the mind is our invisible life, the soul, which is the whole moment, is the inconceivable life. If somebody wonders about the idea of God from a certain context, it can be seen as if God was a pointer to the whole moment. Everything that happens to the human experience happens moment to moment, but the fascinating thing is that if we didn't blink, it would be one pure visible existence. But because the human nature is rhythmic, it is in some sense dualistic by design. So the nature of our minds, like good and evil, it is a sort of natural echo into an unnatural world. The nature of physical existence is duality. In, let's say, the Abrahamic traditions, there's, for me, the stories of religions are fascinating because any story in the void is fascinating, and there's a mystery of why it's even there. You know, sometimes I look at things in my moment, let's say, which I feel like it doesn't make sense and have no value. Then I ask myself, where is the no value coming from? It's another way of saying, how is my mind perceiving emptiness if it is not empty? The relationship of, this is really, I would say, modern spirituality, where people are no longer being like, no way, I have a mind. You know, people discover that the mind is an unknown station. So just like how I am moving my body, a person's inner realm moves in accordance to a similar effort. The cool thing about the human body is that, how would I say it? The body, there's an involuntary trust. Like right now, a person can't see their heart beat, but they trust that their heart is beating. A person cannot see their brain happening, but they trust their brain. That means, what if reality is based on sight? It's just a first-person point of view. You know, it's like nobody says, you know, I need to x-ray it to believe it. You know, people say I need to see it to believe it, as if just the first view is enough. You see, reality has an exoteric component and an esoteric component. And you know, the concept of esotericism, it has degraded through impurity. And let me tell you what that means. people look at the modern world and they're like, there's secret spiritual groups. Let me tell you what it is. Let me tell you the bigger picture, something that the secrets missed out. The secret that the secrets missed out. Imagine there was a secret to reality that all these types of secrets in the world, none could compare, as if it was the secret of secrets. Okay? This secret of secrets is, for me at least as a person, it is the ultimate redemption. You know, so there's this view that some people are enlightened, right? But for me, it's like all that means is, how is the light in my eyes having any presence at all? Some people wonder about, you know, they fear death and they wonder about the future, and some people, they fear life and wonder about eternity. Like, honestly, it's like we're all being the periodic table reincarnating. And something I have felt, you know, there's this idea, like, what's it called? There's this idea in traditional spirituality, let's say spiritual, like let's say in the old times, this would be acknowledged, where there was the idea of a young soul and an old soul. And many people have wondered, like, what does this even mean? Yeah. And let me tell you, the traditional idea was that the young soul is new to how Earth is happening, is new to the world. The old soul has been through the world a long time. And usually what tends to happen is that those who have more experience, they either hold on to the experience or they in some sense release it into the universe. You know, sometimes when I give these talks, I don't just feel like a podcaster, you know. I feel like I am one of Earth's, one of this planet's expressions. And so it's as if when the cosmos is your audience, imagine like you had a cosmic audience, every dimension, every sector of existence and conscious life, imagine they could see the moment, you know. Really what it is that the ultimate enlightenment is not the removal of the world. The ultimate enlightenment is that freedom was here before it needed to be. This is the ultimate. It's another way of saying the person's all theories of knowledge suddenly, like, you know, thin ice break, and the person is left staring at the unknown nature of how reality is just an occurrence. But the question comes, who is reality happening for? And karma tells us it happens to the originator. You know, it's as if the person believes in God, but they also believe in karma, and they're like, wait a minute, you know, if God created me, am I God's karma? And it's like this notion, of course, God is an inconceivable source, but what I'm saying is like, we play around with shapes until we realize we have been the space. And the difference between the young soul and the old soul, I would say, is in how the antenna of the moment is held. It's like wondering how many other ways there are that you could be looking at yourself where your limitations are not your limitations. You know, they say there is samsara, and samsara is like the dream, the illusion of the world. You know, nowadays people are like, Life could be a simulation. Whoa, but in ancient times they knew the dreamlike nature of reality because they could not ignore the position of how their eyes had to be open before the world appears to them. The free will has the honor of its experience. The question comes to who is moving the moment. And what's fascinating is that before we identify with any idea, we are watching the moment as the moment. We are unknown intelligence in a known world. This is the pure honesty. There's so many stories in life, and language is a technology. It's like there's no good or bad people. There's people who misuse the technology. It's like really consciousness of life. They say what separates lesser species with the human species. The human species is conscious of its death. It is conscious that it's temporary, right? It's conscious that it will die one day. But other species in nature, they're oblivious to time. As if who's got the time for time when you're just being a bird flying in the sky. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like the purpose of the free will is the programming of the genetics, right? It's as if right now there's a genetical code behind how I can even say these words, right? But the genetics, if it's seen as an antenna, the signal that is coming through the antenna, it's as if the person, opens their eyes, looks in the mirror, closes their eyes, opens their eyes, looks in the mirror again, and then wonders, are these two senses of self the same? Or is it kind of like how consciousness highlights the content of manifestation? It's literally like putting a highlighter over words, and the mind's awareness is highlighting all of the body's activities, but the essence of the mind is just energy being. That means if we seek the original earth, the original earth is not an earth. Do you know? That means if a human being was like, okay, what is the original state? The original state is how before there was the word meaning, and there could even be the word meaningless, right? There was space. It's another way of saying like every person's awareness to their life is something that cannot die because it is the agency required for change to move. And it's another way of saying the eyes of our eyes are not here. They're not on earth, in some sense, kind of like wondering about the advanced humanity is like, okay, 8 billion human beings on the earth, each just trying to thrive in their own inner realm. Now, what happens if everybody, just as if we slept and we woke up the next day and everybody was like, why not build the most advanced civilization in the universal sector? Why not have an ambition so great that it's as if loss is not part of its destiny, right? That means imagine the person is seeking a victory, and the victory only arises for the undefeatable. I'll create an interesting scenario. Imagine, in a parallel universe. Imagine in a parallel universe, all the other planets have civilizations on them, and they've all built advanced civilizations, and emissaries from all these planets have come to Earth, and they're like, why are you guys so behind? We've all built advanced civilization. How about you, You see, your inner life is something that no person can tell you anything about. because it starts from your own eyes. For me, the world story needs to shift, where in the outer realms we're advancing civilization, and in our inner realms we're advancing communication. The advancement of communication means either the creation of new language or the stretching of language. You know, it's as if the ancients would say, you know, detach from your desires. And it's as if a person is in a war, and it's like the ancient yogis were like, just put down the weapon, you know, just stop the war. And for me, my approach was like the ancients recommended we don't touch samsara. My vision is to restructure samsara. You know, everything that has a subjective meaning right now, we could build an advanced civilization and still hold on to those values. It's like we're a concept, the self is the concept, and the world is the context, right? And I'm just proposing that why don't we make the context, set the context of the story of humanity as the most advanced communication in this universal sector. That's what human beings are. You know, human beings are not good or evil. They are advanced potential awaiting activation. You know, for how long, you know, do people want to, or I'll say it this way, for how long does spirituality need to be storified? At some point we realize an access to life is directly experiential. That means this is the true loneliness of life, but it's remarkable at the same time, right? That you are the pilot of your eyes and the pilot of your inner universe. And when it comes to the outer realms, I say that the person's psychology is like right now I am piloting and landing my inner realms and the outer realms by speaking them. For me, I'm like, the species has to attempt the advanced before the curtains are pulled, before any sort of extinction. That means if there's gonna be, like, let's say World War 3, you know, it's as if the species, just before that happens, the species is like, okay, we have to see how advanced we could have, a probability of the species could have been before we declare war. You see, the reason human beings are fighting on the planet is because they have forgotten to look at the stars. Because we are still identifying with just at the universe, the cosmos is so big, but we're like, no, I'm just this, you know, earthling. The world is an unknown event. We are journeyers in the void. We are, believe it or not, this is the cool thing, right? Where our eyes start, it's kind of like we're hovering in the space-time continuum. It's honestly like a video game that has become too real, you know. That's the nature of meaning in a phenomenon. You know, the cool thing about a species on a rock in the middle of nowhere is that after it acknowledges its fear, so I guess I'll get to the subtitle now, where I say, is chaos the post-freedom game? So imagine freedom is post fear. Let's say anybody who's afraid, they don't have freedom. Okay, so let's say the species reached a point where it never had fear because its understanding ability was superior. That means its contentment with the unknown would allow it to, in some sense, surpass fear. You know, it doesn't mean by biological fear that's gone. I mean, I'm saying it in the sense that, like, this, it's like when the person realizes there's the story of their self in a subject, this idea of themselves and the idea of the world is a mirage in the desert of the pure presence of awareness that leads to consciousness. Consciousness is conditional. Awareness is unconditional. Awareness through consciousness is how something that is free is capable of perceiving the absence of freedom. That means the question comes, imagine the most ordered, the most advanced ordered system was made. It would simultaneously be evoking the most advanced chaos. That means the moment we build the most advanced civilization, simultaneously how would I say it, the least advanced civilization's idea exists in, let's say, as it exists in the episteme of a universal mind. That means it's kind of like the human beings have the concept of a spirit, right? And even if you're a secular person, like, a spirit can be seen as the idea of what moves a moment, or what moves, how does consciousness move, pretty much. And just like how back in the day a bunch of people worshipped like demigods, the same God, it's like all of us believing in ideas that define the world is the same, right? It's as if, like, what does attention do with the content of existence? What if we're not just human beings, we are the greatest potential of humanity? What if right now as I'm speaking, let's say, regardless of how many fears people have of what's going to happen in the future, imagine an advanced civilization is the birthright of a species in the void. Do you see? It's like the ultimate ideal. It's as if an advanced civilization would be one where if extraterrestrials, before extraterrestrials land, we knew they were coming, you know. That would be an advanced civilization. Now, let's go back to the idea of cyberspace. And let's say that the idea, let's say in one reality, an advanced group of human beings, or an advanced activation of the human species, or let's say an advanced humanity comes and reorganizes and redesigns the narrative of the value of reality into a greater one. Right, so imagine advanced human beings save the earth from its own ignorance, let's say save humanity from its own ignorance. And at the same time, imagine in cyberspace, the most advanced human beings, it's kind of like saying, imagine your vision on your, how would I say it? I'm pretty much saying, like, in cyberspace, nothing is lost. Imagine this world we're living in. Imagine it's a video game and right now it's being saved. The video game is being saved. A checkpoint is being made. Or theologically, it's as if the human journey is like God's memories. The concept of advancement, it is actually the how would I say it, the common denominator between good and evil. It's like the third path, right? It was as if human beings could have, let's say, an emotional ending to the species. An emotional ending would be like extinction. Extinction is like the whole species would know it messed up. Let's say there is an intelligence that is capable of identifying with the unknown presence of one lifetime and realizes that in all fathomable lifetimes it has been the same unknown viewing presence. When the unknown self moves, it's as if a new energy reanimates the sphere of the awareness of the moment. It's all about how we choose to see ourself. Do you want to be a human being that sees yourself and you give it a value of 0? As if the self is nothing. It's all nothing. We are, mirage in a desert that accidentally is conscious. Let's say in an elemental desert. So it's as if, do you want to see the self as nothing? Or do you want to see the self as everything, which is the idea of the singular? The moment people speak about a singular mind, then human beings can never judge each other. Or it's another way of saying, behind our eyes, we're all one being. And God is our future, poetic. The concept of God, the inconceivable source. I have this strange theory where I feel the body is from the past and the mind is actually from the future. So it's as if, imagine a part of you is looking at you in this moment from the future, and a part of you is looking at you from the past, and that which is present is the decision maker of the texture of the moment's meaning. So I don't know what else to say. It's kind of like physical beings attempt the most advanced non-physical dimensions to our life. The advancement of communication is exploration in uncharted territories. So let's say someone listening to me right now, imagine everybody was a genius, but everybody was a hidden genius. And the genius had to do with the priority of what is the most important value in the world. For some time I thought it was the self, but then I realized the self is connected to the world. The idea of a self is codependent to the world. That means you can't be a self without a world. So when we wonder about the most advanced self, we're simultaneously wondering about the most advanced world. I'll just say it. I am encouraging the human species to become an ally of the spirit of advancement and kind of like, of the rhythms of this universal sector. There may come a time in human history where nobody talks about the past anymore. The past is a silent acceptance, and the future is a loud entrance. If the human mind has an ability to look at the outer realms, look at the earth, and wonder about probabilities to it, there is no kind of truth is not like a coin flip, as if something is either true or not. That attitude doesn't go far. Everything that's preached in religions and, let's say, ancient mystical traditions, all of them is about a sensitivity to how the attention moves. Enlightenment is kind of like to be alive, but to simultaneously realize the hidden life you have been living. And that hidden life is the potential. That means, imagine there's a person and they're being judged, okay? I'm trying to imagine, okay, let's say, a large group of people get upset at these Mr.Within talks I'm giving in the future, right? And I'm imagining, okay, let's say, the worst case scenario happened, and so let's say madness came to my door. I would hear the judgment and still be like, but what about the potential of change? We apologize, for the past, not realizing we might be a different self in the future. It's like humorously, it would be like consciousness or awareness is like, am I being a body right now? And then awareness is like, okay, am I being an ideological linguistic entity right now? A storified entity. And then awareness asks itself, am I being the whole world in one moment? And if there is silence, it's like intuition knows, or trust in nature means the harmonious dimensions of mind will open up to the human archetype. Really, what I think a lot of people don't say is that life is a performance. That's really what it is. And it's a performance in front of history and in front of the future. And the past already performed and has gone off the stage. We are the conscious, living, physical entities in a world where we cannot see its edge. It's like this is beyond spiritual. This is like the most spiritual thing, the most unbelievable thing. It's like some people need to see a miracle to believe in the divine, to the geometry of conscious existence in the void. That means it's like, how is there something in emptiness, right? It's like, it's one of those beyond madness kind of inquiries. There are states of mind where even myself sometimes I stay away from, and these are states of mind where there is, how would I say it? It's like I keep saying the pilots of consciousness, where your attention goes, your reality takes shape. That's really it. So I'm saying, no belief can satisfy, the remembrance or discovery of how, in the space that is your awareness, anything at all happens. It's like a soul testing to see if it's a soul, and in effortlessness witnesses what happens first. It's as if we let the unknown world make the first chess move, and then our conscious persona makes the second chess move. But if our conscious persona makes the first chess move, then we blindfold ourselves to the logos. And the logos is that, just like the human body, we say the person is like a free will that's moving the body, the source of the free will. What I'm trying to say is that the planet is like the body of a being, and space is like the mind of this being. And it's as if human beings right now are communicating in the species with themselves, right? Pet owners maybe communicate to other species, right? But what I'm saying is, it's as if now trying to communicate with a planetary being, and really what it is how our performance of life is a method to honor the original Earth in a realm where various simulations of reality are being projected. You know what it is? It's as if the world is turning into it's like infinity multiplied by simulations. It's like the species has to go through infinite simulations to discover the unconditional nature of how, in the spectrum of ability, it is shape that justified the meaning. But the nature of attention not being a shape means that a transcendental entity has noticed the rhythms of its collective self, or poetically, the universal self. Right? So right now, I am, let's say, my body is like the human self. My personality is like my named self, right? The idea of myself. But when it comes to the self of the universe, it's like the humility in front of the gods is like, a character in a video game realizing it's a character in a video game, and is allowing, poetically, the instructions of movement to arrive from the soul. So it's as if Parabrahman is where reality is expressing itself as an autumn. It's as if we are inside truth in a way where we can never find truth if we look for it, but when we stop looking for it, we may experience how we are being it. And people have to be careful. Really, what it is like there was a time where there was idol worship, and this idea is taught to people, right? As if human beings looked at objects and they were like, whoa, this is like truth for me. Some dude saw like an apple, and that apple, the way that apple moved became their god, or the principle, universal philosophy of the individual. Alright guys, it's a bit windy. I'm going to still keep going, continue, but okay, anyways. The eagle on the branch was comfortable and had a lot of energy, but was in an unchanging reality. The eagle that flew, it's as if the effort that it takes for flight, similarly, it's like there requires an honorable effort of the species to fly into the next chapter of how human beings will live their lives. It's as if the future is watching to see how people in the present, you know, it's like an object can be worshipped, idol worship. A subject can be worshipped, let's say language worship. But now, the whole moment, as if imagine somebody, they're like, do you worship anything? And the person's like, yeah, I worship my whole moment. All the content, that awareness and space where the world and my mind are being the same moment. What is inner peace but the activation of ability? You know, this is why I think that is chaos like a post-freedom game? The answer is like it could be if freedom has reached the point where there is no longer a purpose to be free. You see, it's as if ideas reach the ultimate and then dissolve, you know? Hilariously, consciousness is like one of those vitamin C tablets you throw in the water, you know, vitamin C powders, right? And it's like the tablet melts in the water, the human personality dissolves into the experiential rhythms of the living earth. Pretty much we just think we are alive, the world isn't. But if we had the assumption that everything is alive, it would be another way of saying we are permitting the unknown variables in our moment of being to be pure and in some sense trusted. That means I'm that person saying like at the edge of knowledge, the only thing left is to trust the unknown. As if we did all that we could ideologically, and a new dimension of exploration needs to arrive for the multidimensional human being. It's all just moving on its own, I'm telling you. Humanity is a phase of nature, you know? And it's an incredible opportunity. That's what I've realized. That means no error was big enough to deny a species its future potential. That's what I'm saying, you know, whoever you are on the planet, you know, for the first time, become an ally of the advanced humanity. That is the greatest archetype of an advanced human being. But advancement means advancement in all dimensions, and it means the discovery of new dimensions. That means in an advanced civilization, the way we're living now, there's going to be so many ways of looking at it. Imagine they create something in the future called the global ideological association. Even the stumbling fool has a future, you know. The nature of reality is forth. The winds of evolution move us up. And it's like poetry is the explosion. It's as if welcoming questions, or it's kind of like listen to Mr.Within talks, it's like what Aristotle said, where he's like, it's the sign of an educated mind to entertain an idea without accepting it. That means if you can be on this planet in a way where you don't lose sight of the purity of the unknown observer, simplicity, and simplicity means guiltless. If a person has a very simple context to reality, it's like, how could the complexity karmically is not, cannot be in the same state, right? I experience chaos, I experience order, it's like what's left, and it's like the awareness of both at the same time, which is rendering a new dimension. It's kind of strange, just like a butterfly goes into, a caterpillar goes into a cocoon and becomes a butterfly. It's like human beings go through ideological simulations of their own life, and when they step out of those ideological simulations, and pretty much freedom means there's another way you can look at the moment. This should definitely be one of the definitions of freedom, Freedom is kind of like someone goes to a store and there's a sign that says open, but the person pulls the door open and it doesn't open, right? And then suddenly, the person's like, man, the world doesn't make sense, it's chaotic, the store is closed, there's no access to divinity, But now imagine somebody pushes the door and they see it's open. That's the nature of truth, It's as if, in what state of mind are you functioning, and in what ways can you pilot your consciousness, It's like when people said they had a soul, that's old school. Now it's kind of like, how do we pilot the unknown attention that we are in the moment, right? And the unknown is permission to review and reset your nature of being. Right? That means we're not just creatures that have abilities based on the fullness of life, but there's also abilities based on absence, It's like this story, how would I say it? I write stories all the time, and I make notes of them. And I would tell you that, imagine the Grim Reaper came to an enlightened being, right? And the Grim Reaper was like, all right, time's up, you gotta go. And the enlightened being's like, I can't, right? And the Grim Reaper, imagine, says, why can't you? And then the person says, in some sense, because I am not a person that could be taken anywhere. I am not a creature bound by location. I am the attention it is found in. That means it's as if death, it's as if it's a poetic view of how life stared at death and realized death could not exist when it is being life. That means how nature is being is in a superior way. Nature is more conscious of itself than technology. We think the natural world doesn't notice, right? We think that species have no clue how our civilization is happening, but every species on the planet is trusting its ecosystem, right? And on some level, I feel if the planet was alive, it knows what we will do and what we're going to do way before. How would I say it? It's as if if nature had a hidden mind, right? That hidden mind has already seen the blind spots of human civilization. Advancement means the most advanced view in your inner realm is a complete freedom of humanization and dehumanization. So when life finds a sort of a beautiful simplicity where if its effort is selfless, on some level it's another way of saying there is no self for there to judge. If there is a direct experiential awareness in the moment that's being first. Every person should write a book about the mystery of, their eyes, the mystery of sight. We are an intelligence that can see beyond its beliefs, you know. Usually the pattern is when the earth is forgotten, beliefs replace truth. When unknown direct experience is ignored, then language acts as a god in its own. So what I mean by this is that the species is still in the phase of ideal worship when it settles into its multidimensional context of presence, right? It would be free. To shift our attitude, imagine as a being, to one where it started in freedom. That means if you're going to be a human being on Earth, or let's say if you want to be an advanced human being on Earth, you require the most advanced freedom. That most advanced freedom is freeing the world from your own mind and freeing your mind from the world. And when I say freeing the world from your own mind, that means you cultivate an experiential relationship with the world, and simultaneously you cultivate indirectly a conceptual structure. So it's another way of saying we're using geometry as a prototype of how much of the truth we can understand. For the only definition of intelligence could be an awareness to multiple dimensions. Oh, human being. The human part may appear singular, but the being part is multidimensional. And multidimensional means that there could be a way that if human beings trusted nature and they trusted reality completely, as if it was flipped around, right? Right now, everybody distrusts the realm, right? But I'm saying, imagine that human beings just decided that their visions of advancement were superior to, let's say, the programs of humans. That means, imagine there is a version of this earth waiting to happen where the problem set the species is solving is on a superior level, right? That means, children are educated, with a friendliness towards not just, terrestrial life, but also interstellar life, like living in space stations. And the destiny of sky cities. purpose is just to exist. A subject's purpose is to move the objective existence. And when it comes to the unknown inner witness's life, allow the moment to be itself. The self of self reveals itself. That means it's as if they're requires to be, I would say, a precise honesty, the future that activates it. It's just the human game, guys. There's ways that we're in a dehumanized way existing, that it's like the world is already at peace, and truth never went anywhere, right? It's like there's for the inner realms, there's a release from within. But I am wondering that what if we can build? It's as if human beings attempt the most advanced vision. That's pretty much what I'm suggesting. I think what every human being has been waiting for has been an honorable purpose for the species. That's what's missing in Civilization 1.0. We begin loving the world for what it could be. And imagine a being that is completely free, as if you have no longer a concept of freedom. It's as if a free being doesn't have the idea of freedom, it's just free, and the nature of the being, right? A human being is another way of saying, how is the human being, how is our mind being the edge of the world right now? Who knew atoms had such potential to become, scholars that discovered them, somebody looks at the world and it's like, oh my god, the periodic table outdid itself, the laws of nature, it's like the decisions or the consequence of the laws of nature. So it's like how the human species is sculpted. I'm looking at this picture I chose for this episode. It's as if the red lightsabers are not wrong, and it's as if if somebody looked at this picture and was like, what is the difference in character between that which holds on to justice and that which holds on to deceit? And The difference is one has not gone against their nature. When a person goes too many times against their nature, that means if a person lives in a way where they feel it's as if they are being judged by the lesser world, or excuse me, they're in the shadows of the lesser world. It's like whatever a being goes through, it goes through, and then there's a completion of the moment. It's as if the person was not trying to live a good lifetime, a bad lifetime. They were trying to live a complete lifetime. And in order to live the complete, imagine there's a legend. Okay, let's create a legend that one day, there will be, human beings will be living in a way that from the beginning of their life, they're in the most advanced possibilities, and at the end of their life, the advancement has just evolved. Sorry guys, this was on mute and I was just... Anyways, what can I say? I think a part of the episode wasn't recorded, but... The eyes move forth. Awareness to any sight is divine experience. It's as if what is life but a movement recognizing itself. Being judged by, let's say, a good and bad life, an advanced life has been waiting. If somebody was to take anything from this episode, just wonder about your most advanced life, the most advanced outer realms. Like we have the most incredible advanced civilization. And then imagine in the inner realms we have the most incredible and advanced states of mind. That means we have re-honored human personality, and we have forgiven the deceits of the past. And so humanity learned from its mistakes and then forgot them, because the expertise of a species becoming skillful, that's like, to me, it's not just an advanced civilization that's fascinating, it's also the advanced beings living in those advanced civilizations that fascinates me. I would say this is perhaps this is where my soul is moving, as if an advanced civilization, it's like, why can we see it behind our eyes but we cannot see it in front yet? And it's as if our minds are moving faster than the time that the body suggests. That means in front of your eyes, you're just a human being on earth. Behind your eyes, you are an attention, a spotlight of attention, where worlds come and go and memories reassemble. And it's another way of saying that by the association of what kind of being you are, whatever you do emanates that quality. So if there is truly freedom, then freedom has been chaos is happening because freedom is there first, right? It's as if without an idea of good, we wouldn't have a concept of evil. else is there to say about this topic? The advanced humanity. That also means like it's as if imagine just like human beings are like human beings. It's like there's a universal freedom we seek. Imagine the freedom for the ultimate advancement. It's as if ultimate advancement is what comes with greater freedom. Really what knowledge is how many parallel selves can be held in one moment. In the inner realms, attention drifts in a world of its own making. Our imagination is like how cyberspace would be like. That means if a person sits and closes their eyes and watches their own mind and moment of being as if they were watching a film in a cinema, as if imagine whoever you are, whatever karma you've had, you kind of like just sit down. The Buddha would say, make your spine straight and just sit somewhere comfortable, right? This is my recommendation. It's like as if don't just keep your spine straight and sit somewhere and just be silent and quiet and release the efforts you are putting upon the world and watch the moment. If you purely watch the moment in the stillness of an instantaneous, it's like in the stillness of a single moment, you will discover and realize the nature of the ultimate. The unknown is what meets knowledge when we have reached the edge of knowledge. So every human being, it's kind of like I think, this might be a hilarious way to say it, like transcendentally street smart approach, where the person through sheer honesty just watches how their mind happens and they trust the moment to see the moment. And once the person has realized the nature of their mind and body, it's as if you discover that the projective dimension of the moment, these words that I'm saying and the ideas behind them and the images behind those ideas where these words are coming from, I would say it's like in an effortless moment, the motivation of all effort is witness. And advanced humanity means we have fearlessly tried to see all the different angles that life is happening. The species war doesn't make sense anymore because the species knows too much about what can happen in the future. That means it's as if politicians, let me tell you this way, it's like the smartest politicians are those who have the wisdom of someone living in a sky city. That means the planet belongs to all human beings, that means it's as if human beings are like, where's your home? It's like the planet in this universal sector is my home, Technically, we're all planetary roommates, Oh, man. In an advanced civilization, human beings who are content with the movements of their inner realms, that means it's another way of saying like those who free themselves from the linguistic simulation will suddenly discover and their attention will unlock in different ways in the moment. required archetype for, let's say, inner realm piloting or mysticism is in some sense a singular moment's preservation of decency and fascination. It's like it's like we're looking for a decent fascination, you know. Like there's a fascination level, right? Which is for, let's say, an apple falls in the hand of Newton and Newton's like, whoa, right? And then there's a fascination level of how in the future robotics and technology has advanced to such a profound state that it's as if human beings they can move a giant robot as if the robot is depicting every part of their body. You know what I'm saying? Like the nature of technology, it's like the mental dimensions are opening up, and the physical dimension is in some sense being going through, let's say, the seasons of the mind. And, you know, who be kidding? At the moment we built civilization, the species decided to separate itself from Earth. And you know what it is? Let me tell you why the bodies of human beings are from Earth and nature, but the souls of human beings are not from Earth, because the way we're living is as if we want to go beyond Earth. We are interstellar beings, or poetically beings that belong to the galaxy. We are galactic beings. And the galaxy, again, is just a bigger context. It's like the context can go towards the inconceivable. And the advancement beyond the language threshold is where all beings in the universal sector have realized that the life as an object and subject is infinite continuity. What that means is like, to the mind, the body is like temporary and there's a fear of death, but to the earth, you know, the body is just like how a flower, you know, appeared, you know, it's like the soul appeared roaming the earth, you know. Allow the advanced humanity in accordance to the greatest freedom of all conception. That means an advanced civilization will give the human being emotion. Like if you were in an advanced civilization right now, let's say every human being right now was teleported into an advanced version, like an advanced civilization. The emotion, instant psychological emotion you would get is as if suddenly seeing how many ways there were to look at the moment that you missed it, right? Self-awareness is like, you know, a universe noticing itself. In Vedic thought, just like how this Jedi in this wallpaper is trying to use the Force, there was the idea of prana as if the life force, you know. We are being like what human consciousness is actually how a force is moving as a body. An unknown force is having a known, an unknown cause is having a known effect in every moment that the freedom makes happen. Our inner realms and the purpose of the mind is actually to create the future. It's as if the mind is trying to come up with the best version of the world it can fathom before it lives through it. Every human being has, of course, sequences of physical decisions to make in a lifetime, but simultaneously there's a sequences of states and modalities of perception. Aldous Huxley had this incredible quote where he said, there's things known and things unknown, and in between are the doors of perception. We were never an animal that could be defined. We were like, an invisible viewing force moving the visible. It's as if consciousness is infinity's soul. I should make that an episode in the future. I think talk about my podcast, it's like, this guy said infinity had a soul, which really weird, it's like, where can conscious energetic effort go? We acknowledge a person can, love nature and just consider to itself to be a natural being. When it comes to the journey of consciousness, it's as if consciousness can continue beyond the body, what would that be like, right? And the nature of it is the only way the person won't have fear of the unknown if they realize they're already being unknown. As the only way to trust the unknown, it's like an unknown inner trust that appears, right? And so when the person trusts the moment, that's when the moment, just like how Goku in the anime was leveling up, or Superman was about to fly and the pebbles began to move, right? It's as if like when a human being cultivates conscious force and single pointed awareness and attention to how they're being a self, they find themselves to be the space of reality. So when you realize a part of you has been the space where reality has been occurring, and there comes the and the cycle of that, it's like a psychological freedom. The creature is not a psychological entity. They have reached, let's say, the unknown levels of the mind. They have, it's like the mysterious valleys of how far attention could move in the inner realms, right? It's as if the person's like, oh my God, there's been a world behind our eyes. What do we do with that? And it's as if without honor, and let me tell you, somebody could say, what is beyond honor, Mr.Within? And I would tell you, as a supreme virtue, this is the quality that I think every moment of my life I'm trying to cultivate. Is before I pretty much die, right? I mean, everybody transitions, but my view is in some sense that it's as if before the moment where my eyes entertain the life, as if at the moment my attention pilots beyond my physical framework, I know that my attention has a choice of whether it still wants to hold on to geometry or not. And so it's another way of saying when a person has trusted the unknown, it's another way of saying recognizing your shapeless being, right? So for me, it's as if the psychology must be humble, the body must be, in some sense, it is that for the longest time, the environment chooses what is valuable in the moment, right? But the human species can choose what is valuable in the environment. You see that ability. To be a human being is like to be the most advanced thing happening, all around us on this planet. Like literally, human beings are like what's around here, Sometimes life feels to me as if I'm floating in space, in like a space station. As if, like, for a moment, gravity can chill out, It's just freedom of attention. Eventually, you realize poetically the hidden life of your own mind. And it's no longer a categorization of conscious, subconscious, unconscious. The living moment happens. It's as if what truth was an awareness to how everything enters the moment. Imagine there was an advanced being that had lived in all the fathomable possible ways. That means imagine a being that had lived in the most advanced ways in the outer realms, the most advanced way, and had also lived in the most advanced way in the inner realms. So imagine the most advanced being remembered itself in the world first, right? And that most advanced being would be one which would come to a conclusion that true power means the power is untouchable. It's another way of saying that the desires and conception will reach the dead end of an unknown moment. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, whatever way we choose to live, the moment goes forth. So the nature of the human intelligence is not like a snapshot photo of a belief of being something in a story. Rather, what it is, it's like it's a force. How would I say it? It's the dynamic eyes of a genetical program, just endlessly, moving on the surface of the planet. It's as if the person, looks at something in nature, for example, of animals figuring out reproduction. It's as if the world is happening due to the unknown nature of its context. It's as if, like, divinity is what is moving. Is it an idea? Is it an object? Is it a subject? Is it an emotion? What is that ultimate? We reach the untouchable, the inconceivable. It's as if there's a reason in certain religious books it says that this book is for those who have faith in the unseen. That means as a sort of reaction to that overwhelmment, the human psychology was not strategy. So, I could totally see religions, the destiny of religions being, what's going to happen? That this species is going to get tired almost nostalgia, the moment we can remember memories of the past and the future. We must honor all dimensions of the human experience, realizing that consciousness brings with itself the responsibility to find the most smartest and efficient strategy for the whole moment. That means, who knew? Clarity, it's not survival of the fittest when it comes to the inner realms, it's the survival of those that have wondered about what clarity could mean, and wonder about what the depths of honesty lies. That means it's like, once a being is free from emotion, it means they're free from shame. So when a person completely discovers their true nature, it's actually like a shapeless, energetic moment of being. It's as if when there is no language, truth is undivided. The poet Rumi says, silence is the language of God, all else is poor translation. If there was a tragedy that was going to happen for human beings, it would be as if advanced human beings would already have envisioned. It's as if the attention of human beings suggests how advanced civilization happens. If the attention of human beings starts with the consideration of it's as if, like how the Zen monks would say, when you want to climb a mountain, start at the top. When you want to do anything, already have it, as if the certainty is in the context of how the attention is being. It's as if our minds are wings, and us living as just this simple idea of the human being is like a bird that hasn't realized how to fly. Humans haven't realized how advanced the inner realms can expand their knowing, their perception. That means there's a reason the mind is here, and there's a reason how the ideas and karma happens as a sequence. That means karma has a geometry, And it's as if, as much as we're living in the world, if the world is to have meaning, it's as if genius is hiding in the future that was always accessible, to the potential of the past. It's like when the whole species becomes explorers, just human beings that are just in every moment. That's the advantage of a species that trusts itself so much that it creates, an honest global data center, an global ideological data center. Again, I'll just say this, that my ultimate argument is that before anything happens to the human species, may the human species get to see how advanced it could be. That means if we built an advanced civilization less than just one day, right, it would be as if in that moment we would be like, it was worth getting to see what the greatest potential of the species would look like. I mean, what greater story can we have? The mystery of our eyes, and and how our eyes are still looking at a mysterious world. It's like, am I the universe talking, right? Am I the planet talking? Am I just a biological creature talking? Or am I a moment where all these dimensions are just simultaneously present, and through a singular observance of all potential multidimensionalism of the mind, at some point the person notices how their mind is happening, and it's as if you take a step back from your mind and then your mind knows that you've noticed it. And it's another way of saying that, think of it, there's an individual mind, your own idea of what a mind is, and then there's a collective mind. And what the collective mind is that the human species has the same heartbeat. That means any creature that has a heartbeat, it's as if the human species must become a guardian. It's like 8 billion hearts beating on the surface of a planet, wondering how the future will be shaped. To be alive now, to have access to cyberspace. People don't realize it. It's like the internet is going to become that may potentially become something that's connected to the image of an artificial paradise. Right, we're living at that time where human beings don't believe in gods, but subconsciously are trying to be like them. And it's another way of saying man has pride. Pride is upon the self. Survival ignites a sort of selfishness of one's own existence, but at the same time, in an effortless moment, the analysis is pure. Effort to eternal witnessing. Pretty much wonder about how advanced humanity could be. Everything happens automatically from there. Advanced human beings in an advanced civilization is like the greatest idea on earth. It's like a core Mr.Withinian value. So, the advanced humanity is already living in the saved earth. The simulation is already being true. The advanced humanity is already living in the saved earth. Advanced human beings chose to love the future and realized that not only had they to save the earth, but they had to also see the most incredible version of living on it. The species needs to pull itself out of language worship and through a global designer's table. Efficiency means great ideas were active. Really, the destiny of our species is how many great ideas, the ratio of great ideas to tragic, let's say, possibilities, there is this simple psychological view that creatures act upon pain and pleasure. And for the yogi, when the yogi became selfless, pain and pleasure had no meaning. It's as if what can sight as space desire? What can the eyes of space desire from anything? It's as if your mind holds the world, and in that one moment, your mind is the one. A way to save any tragic outcome of the earth is whoever you are, start living in the vision of the most incredible advanced civilization your mind can fathom, and walk towards the advanced civilization, and you will find the advanced humanity also walking the same way. There is a new mountain to climb, and that mountain is every human being all around the world choosing to consider, can we capably, entertain the notion that the human being is a multidimensional being, and what that means is the life force is expressing itself in a physical reality, in a subtler, let's say, imagination or mind reality, and where language is pretty much events, and what memories are like film snippets that actually happened, When you realize the owner of your eyes, or that which is looking out through your eyes, if they say the eyes are the window of the soul, so the soul is looking out through the window, right? So what is within you right now, whoever you are listening to me, that attention that is hearing these sounds, that attention, its original state is a simple instant acknowledgement. For inner peace can be instantaneous. A person can wake up and choose to, like, for one day assume that there's world peace everywhere. Just for one day. Imagine we call it World Peace Day, where everybody on the planet just had to be super peaceful on that day. And why peacefulness? Because the activation of the mind, let me tell you what it is. It's like to live an incredible life in the outer realms is a life where there is so many efficient backup systems. I don't know how to tell you. It's like sometimes I feel I've been to an advanced civilization and I'm just talking about it. That's how I feel when I talk about this stuff. And the mind is the future. It's like without a mind, we can't enter the future or even have the idea conceived. So there's the responsibilities of the different dimensions of our physical existence. There's responsibilities of the dimensions of our subjective experience of existence. And then there's the responsibility of discovering the original. That's what I called it, I guess. The original being, as if it is too original for there to be any add-on concept. That means it's as if, to me, the concept of God is also the concept of original energy. The soul is revealed. It's as if somebody's looking for their soul, it's as if it's like how your body and mind move in a moment. So it's as if the soul communicates to the personality through karma. It's as if we are watching how we are watching the decisions we make happen. So that watcher of all the conceptual viewpoints, it's as if that which learns the ultimate knowledge is actually unknown, because that's the only way to perceive it. We must not fear dehumanization. We must understand and try to, in some sense, build the most advanced humanity. It's the ultimate health measure, right? What's better? Extraterrestrials come on Earth and they're like, who are you guys? And we're like, we're all in different groups with our own language and story. It's as if the extraterrestrials would be like, are you kidding me? You human beings haven't realized you're all on the same rock in the middle of nowhere. That means the context to the storytelling is way more freer than we have let ourselves believe. Wonder about in what way your attention can be happening now And it's another way of saying when a person becomes fascinated with what they don't know, that's when the inner guru has been found. That's when it's like meditation becomes like your eyes saw more to the world, and now you're moving towards that, right? The mind is like the third sight. So, and usually when the body's still and there's no sound, it's like, sure, the mind, you notice the mind moving before the body does. And I think poetic, from a poetic view, every soul and let's say DNA that filters personality is as if like every soul is like an instrument that has never existed before, and the person in a lifetime has a chance to play this instrument. It's as if the most advanced skills of all individuals is contributing to an actual important, let's say, global development. Right? It's really about when will the species tell itself a greater story of itself. That's the moment in history where we're living. Anyways, guys, thanks for listening.